Parentamorphosis. You may have heard of it. It's been made famous by a series of commercials for Progressive Insurance in which a life coach, Dr. Rick, tries to counsel millennial homeowners who, like their parents before them, start engaging in some inexplicable behaviors. They begin to hoard food items encased in aluminum foil in the basement freezer, just in case, or make couches unusable due to an overabundance of throw pillows, or use a speakerphone in the middle of a supermarket. All of these are symptoms of parentamorphosis, the process in which new homeowners become their parents. These lighthearted and gentle reflections are funny for the simple reason that we can all identify with them. And we identify with them because we, and the people we love, all have habits or quirks that could be changed to better fit today's world. But they're also funny because they illustrate a deeper truth. They illustrate how the next generation tends, consciously or unconsciously, to absorb what they've heard or seen. Every person is a product of the experiences they've had with those who have touched their lives. This week's Torah portion, the Et Hanan, demonstrates this duality of parentamorphosis. In our portion, Moses models the ultimate parental figure as he continues his highlight reel of the Torah and of his life. He tells the story of the Exodus out of Egypt, the giving of the Torah, and the Ten Commandments. He advises and reminds the Israelites of how God wants them to live their lives in the Promised Land and offers blessings. While Moses knows that he won't enter the land of Israel, he wants future generations to benefit from the lessons of the past 40 years and continue to reap the blessings that come with being a part of the Jewish people. More than half a dozen times in this parsha, Moses underscores the fundamental ties between generations which preserve the Jewish people. For example, he implores the people to make your experiences known to your children and your children's children. He reminds them to keep God's commandments that I command you this day, which will do good to you and your children, even after they beget children and grandchildren in the Promised Land. He assures the people that God has honored and will continue to honor the covenant made with their ancestors. He warns them that God will remember the sin of parents for their children and for the third and fourth generations, but will practice loving kindness to the 1,000th generation of those who love God and those who keep God's commandments. And as we recited today and in all of our Shabbat services, this portion includes the Ve'ahavta, which reminds us that we should teach God's words diligently unto your children. In short, throughout this entire portion, we see Moses trying to instill in the next generation essential teachings, behaviors, and precautions that might shape and protect them from whatever challenges lay across the Jordan. A Moses-morphosis, if you will. But the Torah portion also poignantly highlights why the ways of the older generations may sometimes benefit from an updated perspective. In the very beginning of this portion, Moses recounts how he begged God to allow him to enter the Promised Land. God refused. Why might that be? Well, let's rewind to our first days in the desert. God instructs Moses to strike a rock with his staff and water would come flowing forth for the Israelites. Fast forward 40 years, Miriam is gone, as is her well that had sustained the people through the desert. This time, God instructs Moses to speak to the rock, and water would flow forth. But Moses instead did what he did 40 years before, and he strikes the rock. Did his mourning the loss of his sister or hearing the incessant complaints of the people make it difficult for Moses to hear the new instruction that was needed for this new generation of Israelites? Did Moses strike the rock because of muscle memory? Was he just following a precedent? whatever the reason, Moses didn't appreciate the difference in instruction or circumstance. The Israelites were a different group of people than they were when they started out. Newly freed slaves understood beating and striking as a way to ensure obedience. The new generation of Israelites, however, didn't know slavery. Their lessons were taught through words. The leader of the Israelites needed to adapt to the generational shift and appreciate the positive change that comes with not personally knowing or witnessing the pain of slavery. Perhaps God saw at this moment that it was time to transition leadership to better suit the new aims of the Israelites. It's not a reflection of failure on the part of Moses, one of the greatest leaders and teachers of the Torah. It's simply a reflection that in order for a people to thrive ledor vador, from generation to generation, it needs a leader who innately understands the challenges and experiences of the current generation. Moses' final gift to all of us was his readying the next generation to assume the reins of leadership. He ensured that the next generation would be carriers of wisdom by focusing us on the lessons learned in the desert that were truly essential. In some sense, this very same duality, the need to hold sacred and the need to update, has become a foundational component of Reform Judaism. Reform Judaism seeks to update some outdated habits while protecting things that matter. Indeed, the Reform movement is a compelling example of how a people can honor their past, learn from it, and still evolve to reflect the growth that has occurred along the way. When the Reform movement began, reformers sought to reconcile Judaism with contemporary life and to remove or change the accumulated habits of prior centuries that contributed little meaning to modern lives. Sometimes that meant eliminating requirements, for example, wearing tzitzit. Sometimes that meant bringing things back that had been lost along the way. For example, from the time of King David, we know music was an essential part of Jewish religious events. Yet, for centuries after the destruction of the Second Temple, Jews had stopped using choirs or musical instruments in the liturgy. So, early reformers sought to bring music back into the liturgy with organs and violins and choirs and other musical innovations intended to enhance our prayers. Other changes included readings in both Hebrew and the native language of the congregation, and textual changes that made the prayers more reflective of modern views. Temple Emanu-El was at the forefront of these changes, being the first congregation to say Mechaye HaKol, or God who gives life to all, rather than Mechaye Metim, or God who revives the dead, in the Gevurot. Today, Reform Judaism continues to change with our world. We ordain women as rabbis and cantors. We don't require a Kohen to recite the priestly blessing. We actively and joyously welcome people of all different backgrounds, ethnicities, races, gender identities into our Kehillah Kadosha, our holy community. By preserving and evolving and thinking and understanding, generations of Reformed Jews have ensured that Judaism will be able to continue forward into new promised lands while remaining connected to our shared heritage. For in Reformed Judaism, every family, indeed every person, is given the ability to connect to our faith, to our religion, to our people, to our pictures of our past in our own way. For me, I'm relieved and happy that I've had the unbelievable blessing to soak in my parents' mannerisms, their hospitality, and their excitement and attention to detail in every holiday celebration. I think that all of us can reflect and find little things that we've absorbed with little effort from our families. Perhaps their sense of humor, their love of photos, their kindness, or their musical skills. And I'm sure we all have our own versions of the absolute best recipes for traditional brisket or challah or matzo ball soup, all of which have passed ledor vador. So while Dr. Rick may have lessons to teach us, and while I'll still text with my thumbs while my parents use their index fingers, he may have missed one of the most important lessons. As Moses reminded us in his final teachings, we shouldn't fear parentomorphosis, for if we don't learn from our parents and grandparents, we're losing much of what's essential to our understanding of ourselves and what the next and the next and the next generations need to know. But as God reminded us in this parsha, each generation also needs to evolve and adapt what we learn from the past to reconcile those teachings with the sensibilities and realities of our world today. Lador vador nagid godlecha, from generation to generation, we will tell of God's greatness. Ken yehi ratzon, may it be God's will.
We are gifts and we are blessings. We are history in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. L'dor vador nagid godlecha. L'dor vador, we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'dor vador, these lips will praise your name.
Looking back on the journey that we carried along, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would fall.
We are blessed and we are holy. We are children of your way. And the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. L'dor vador nagid godlecha. L'dor vador, we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'dor vador, these lips will praise your name. These lips will